folks, if there's one thing that we can say about Victoria 3 in every single version of Victoria 3, it is that Constantinople looks absolutely gorgeous, although I will say that sooner rather than later we may have to call it Istanbul, because that is nobody's business but the Turks, and they made that very, very clear when they actually rose up against us here in the fight for Serbia. Folks, it's the year 1872, and I'm insanely excited because ahead of us lies an era of, sort of enlightenment, but at the same time also struggle to become a bit more reactionary and to go back a bit. We are Italy in 1872 as mentioned, and we just stalemated a fight with Serbia against the Ottoman Empire. It was honestly kind of embarrassing. There's a lot of movement here going on the Balkans, and I am suspecting that there will be more coming, and we will of course jump in. But at the same time, this has been pretty humbling. We clearly, very clearly, need to build up the army, and I think there are many voices here in Italy that are saying, listen pal, it's not the army's fault. You know whose fault it is? It is the fault of these damn progressives. And progressives are indeed on the move. We are currently passing the presidential republic, and in all earnest, I find this such an interesting sort of direction that we're taking here. I qualified this by basically saying that we are making a lateral move right here. We are a democracy, we are a republic, and we have been beset by enemies. These enemies, of course, are the monarchists, these enemies are, of course, the theocrats, and we're trying to move now from parliamentary republic to presidential republic. The reasoning here is that this is a lateral move. You can see most people just literally do not care, except for the intelligentsia. And I really, really like this premise. They believe that an enlightened democracy does need a fairly strong ruler, and honestly, they're kind of right. In the last decade or so, we have been going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth every single election. If you are in government, you are basically assured that next election you're going to be out of government. And the way I see this is that our progressives want to secure this republic and keep the reactionaries from actually taking control again and again. This is a move that could backfire, but it's a cool move nonetheless. Now, something that I want to take some time with, because a comment has pointed this out, and I found it interesting because I think it shows a bit of a different perspective that we have today when it comes to how our countries are organized and how our constitution works compared to how it was in, say for example, 1872. What was pointed out was that the last election had a majority for theocracy, and yet I didn't do it. I didn't do it at the time with the reasoning that this would surely cause a civil war, and that at the time, of course, there weren't really the cards that, would allow us to move on and push this stuff through without causing a civil war. And if you have somebody in government like the leader of the Roman Curia right here, Ludovico Samaruccio, then you don't really want to do that. This man is a political operator. He is ambitious, but he knows when he has to temper his ambitions. And I think he will ultimately, of course, push for theocracy. But the move towards theocracy is in no way, shape or form comparable to the move from parliamentary republic to presidential republic. In the context of the time, what has to be pointed out is that people just had a different perception of what it meant to be a presidential republic or a parliamentary republic, or to have a constitution in the first place. Constitutional theory, yes, of course, the most important constitution that is still active of the time is written right here, long before the game even starts, but historically speaking, constitutional theory and really being firm on principles and what it means, what is the difference between a normal law and between just a constitution, for example, that stuff wasn't really developed on, a scientific level until like 1920, 1930. Mostly post-World War II did we actually come to very, very sincere conclusions about how a constitution for a democratic country should look like. Now, we have none of that. Our people are like, hey, listen, parliamentary democracy isn't really working for us. Try something else. The constitution is the spirit and the esteem of the people. And if that changes, then, hey, change the whole thing. That is exactly what we're doing, but since we are going from republic to republic, it's not that big a change, whereas, yeah, theocracy would be. If we go for theocracy, and let me tell you, I'm not afraid to do it should the Roman Curia win the elections, they are now indeed a part of the right, which makes the right a very dangerous force. Should they become a power here, we're going to become a bit more illiberal, and then once we've done that enough, we're going to be moving towards theocracy. Don't fear, I am willing to make the move, but it has to be a smart move. It has to be a weighted move, in favor of more reactionary forces. All of that aside, let's take a good look at what we want to do in this particular video right here. I want to maybe continue our achievements and our ambitions right here in Western Africa. Ideally, I would like this entire region to be ours without any question. and then we might look towards this position. I mean, if you think about it right now, we have now passed colonial exploitation. So you know what? In fact, I'm going to declare an interest right there, and we're going to go ahead and try to settle. The other thing that we also need to address is that we aren't just undergeared in the military front, because again, Ottoman horses can defeat us, which is very embarrassing, and I hate it. But it gets even worse once we take a look at the French fleet. They have 75 light ships and 14 capital ships in this fleet. We're looking at 14 monitors. So yeah, as you can see, and I'm going to give rubber mastication up, come on, that is ridiculous. We're going to go with this and monitors, and then we're going to shift towards a fully new navy, and quite frankly, after that, towards a fully new army as well. I want machine guns. That is exactly where we need to go. I got warfare on my mind, and I'm going to push that through. Man, I mean, look at them coming back here. Like beaten dogs, do our soldiers return from the battle at, I guess, Gallipoli. Yeah, the battle of the Strait of Constantinople and of Serbia, and we weren't actually victorious. It's embarrassing to say, but we really weren't. I'm thinking almost, because I was largely defending there, which gives the lancers of the Ottomans an edge. I think we might kind of go into the school of the offensive. This is something that was historically actually taken place. It was even called the cult of the offensive in France in particular, where around this time, when the Germans won against France in 1870, 1871, the French and the Germans were all convinced the only thing that matters in warfare is who has the initiative, which translates into who is on the offensive. Because the way the war, of course, between France and Germany went was that Germany went from fort to fort to fort, bombarded them with artillery, and then just marched in. With heavy casualties, mind you, but, well, they won the war. So, honestly, our lesson here from the war against the Ottomans probably is as well, if you are gonna be in a war, make sure that you are on the attacking side. And here I am proud to declare that we have our very first proper colonies in Africa. Now, these colonies are the first colonies because this right here was conquest, whereas this is settlement. We need a port. That is going to be very important, and I'm just going to basically say that to maintain these colonies, we need these frigates down here. This is, of course, how it went historically. You needed to be present in the region, and while that is sadly not yet a game feature, please watch my Navy video, this is going to play the role. I'm not going to push these. If we are warned I need these ships, we're not going to utilize them. They stay right here because they facilitate our activity in the region. And you know what, while we're at it, I think we want to reduce the autonomy of Tunis here, primarily. I mean, is it really necessary? Right now they're a protectorate. I turned them into one. I would like to annex them sooner rather than later so that France can't intervene. A 37% chance, huh? You know what? I'll do it. Sure. Okay, they challenged us. Listen, I'm gonna go into a war here if necessary. I actually cannot believe that they didn't back down. I had them back down previously, but here we are. Nobody's even helping them. You know what? It'll feel really good to get just one victory. Oh, it already counts as fully occupied, doesn't it? Because we have this visual bug right here. It's just like, yep, okay. I don't even... We need to do nothing. They will just capitulate. Unlucky, pal. Not that they would have won, to be fair, but... yeah, that's a bit scuffed right here. Ooh, maybe much more interestingly, China is continuing to have massive, massive wars here. We see Uliastai, so they just take one province right here in Mongolia, but then if Xibei Sanma were to win, look at that, they would take plenty of these core provinces and only Manchuria itself would still belong to Manchuria. Manchuria looks bigger and more threatening than it is, by the way. If you compare it to Anhui, look at that population. Xibei looking good as well. Heavenly Kingdom, of course, massive. Shandong, despite being just one province, really good as well. I'm very interested to see this right here. Again, we're gonna intervene, but I think before we do this, I would like the Sinai. If we can get this West Canal, we will be in a really good position. Oh, and now things are getting spicy. So far, we have only had a struggle between Republicans and between theocrats, but now all of a sudden the question is asked, what do we need these structures of authority to begin with? Oh my god. Anarchist has a mad setup, a mad setup right here. Very fascinating. So that would be a massive shift from what we are currently doing and from what the intelligentsia is currently endorsing. I'm still bolstering you. I'm going to keep bolstering you as long as you're in government, but I might throw you out later. Enrico Malatesta. I'm going to read up on this guy for a quick second, because if the theocrats were to win, you know, some steam here, he might be somebody that soon takes over the intelligentsia. Let me learn more. Wow. I love this guy. He had a very colorful life. He started a revolution actually in the 70s in Italy, took a couple of provinces in Benevento, and then was exiled. And of course lived in exile, started some insurrectionary propaganda and so on. Interesting. He's very young, he has a long future ahead of him, and should I think the Republicans lose ground by virtue of either, being kicked out of their own IGs, or should the theocrats win ground, I think he might be on the sort of line of what should be taking over this country. But he will of course also serve as a very good example to where republicanism will lead if you let it fester in the eyes of the theocrats. Anyway, Enrico Malatesta, everybody. That is a really, really cool person right here. Also great traits, wow, very impressive. And oh boy, yep. Now it is getting critical. We are looking at the 1874 campaign here in Italy, and finally the Roman Curia is running for the Senate, or for whatever we may be calling our parliament right here. And they are winning. The Roman Curia is flexing its muscles, and I'm not entirely sure that we can secure the presidency for the far left right here. They are losing votes left and right. That is going to be an incredible victory. Oh, and we have some uncertainty right here in Switzerland. Listen, what we can't abide by at all in this country is, of course, aristocrats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to support them, and they would actually be incredibly willing. I mean, they want to become a protectorate. I'm not going to get involved in this. What I would like from them... yeah, I think I'm just going to take an obligation, because if we get them into our customs union, that would be very beneficial. I don't want to meddle too much, because then all of a sudden we would be clashing with France and Germany. Instead, I'll just take this, and I'll send a small detachment of Italian troops. And oh boy. I think this might be backfiring. We wanted to secure power in somebody's strong hands, and I assume that that is why the Roman Curia finally decided that they wanted to run. They had been abstaining from the electoral process until now, with no chance of winning either way. And now the progressives have said, we want to strengthen the republic by moving to a presidential republic, and the presidency will fall into the hands of the very same Roman Curia. I love it, but man, this might have some real negative feedback. Alright, and there it is. The government will be reformed. Ludovico Samaruccio has the highest legitimacy government in 100 years. At least it feels that way. The conservatives, no, the reactionaries are back. And the big question that I have now is, of course, how do we start this reform? I talked about that this is a very surefire way to get a revolution that they don't really want either. So we gotta take some steps in preparation. Everybody here is against home affairs. I'm very much not against home affairs myself. I think a big move, and the civic nobility even endorses this, is secret police. We want to move into a direction, if you will, where, well, we are in control of what is being said. The very same thing that I would love to do, but I think this might already be a bit too harsh until we have the thing right here, would be censorship. I think that would be beautiful as well. And quite frankly, tenant farmers. The people that really have led the push for the Republic and the protection of the Republic are the rural folk. This is not an urban republic. This is an agrarian republic. And maybe it is time that we show them that they do not belong to the ownership class, whether that is politically speaking or economically speaking. For starters, I think, to keep everybody from getting very angry, let's pass secret police. Let's make sure that there's something else awaiting us, and that something else is going to be suppression. Ooh, and indeed, we have an uprising, the Dahomey Uprising here in our newly founded colonies. Luckily, we have troops at the ready, and I think now's the time to teach them a lesson in the name of God and in the name of the Pope. Oh my god, can you believe this? Okay, South German unrest in South Tyrol. South German nationalist unrest has sharply increased in South Tyrol. Agents of Austria have been suspected of fostering the seditious behavior. You can, this is new in 1.5, you can send agitators across borders. If I had any of you in government right now, I could do this. I could say stir national agitation. This guy, I assume, would be in Malta? I think so anyway. Maybe it would be in Malta. Maybe it would be nowhere. Who the hell knows? But that's besides the point. Austria just did this to us. They just stirred South German unrest. That means they must have some guy. There he is. Gerhard Reicher. He is a Catholic Church member. Yep, there it goes. They need to be in government and then need to be an agitator. If the South Germans rebel, listen, I'm gonna crush them, no doubt about it. And look at them go. Good point, actually. While debates continue over the secret police law, a polemic by Eric Malatesta has publicized a simple and catastrophic flaw in the proceedings. A redraft is underway. Find an acceptable compromise, whatever that looks like. He gets a bonus, right? He and his interest group get a bonus because he is just so eloquent. Or let them take the bait, push another matter. I really want to push this through from our position. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think the Roman Curia loves the civic nobility. They're good allies and everything, but if anything, let them take the bait, push another matter. Yes, this harms the civic nobility, but it is the Roman Curia that we really care about. So, indeed, give me the additional enactment chance. Alright, and I was looking around. I currently don't want to pick any fights. I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the Ottomans aren't going to see any other rebellions. It at the very least has been very calm around them, and looking here, the turmoil to get a rebellion should be at least 50%, and I can't see that anywhere, so I assume that it's not going to happen. Either way, let's ask Denmark to give us Danish Togo. Is there anybody that actually wants to protect them? That is the bigger question. A lot of people that like him, and admittedly, if Russia were to get involved in this, Russia is a faction that I can see as a long-term threat. Yes, we talk about Austria, yes, we talk about France, but Russia has a vested interest in taking over this area because it, of course, curtails where they can be active as with their navy. So that means they might jump in here as well. My hope is that they just give in. But honestly, if Russia turns against us now, it's not a big surprise. They've meddled with Romania, Austria's meddled with Serbia. Both of them are very clearly our primary enemies right now. Luckily, they're both behind in tech. Anyway, give me the land for free? Okay, well, time to take over. And an update on China, you can see massive war again. Manchuria won this one. Chances are they may be winning this one as well. Manchuria is in a really good position, by the way, since they are now a protector of Russia. Nobody can come after them, but they can come after everybody. But I think they may have taken out too big a bite here. If they took Henan and Shaanxi, Anhui would be the primary force all of a sudden. Bruh. Britain just embargoed me. They're hostile. Oh my god, okay. Let me reevaluate this. We got friends. So Russia didn't go against us. We are going against their interests, but Russia's in a position where they don't care for Togo in particular. France and Germany like us. Austria obviously hostile. Spain hostile, which is interesting because I want their islands anyway. And then Britain hostile. Are they gonna jump in here? I hope not. I really hope not. Giuseppe Garibaldi has died, by the way. I want to point out two things here. Giuseppe is now dead. But most importantly, he didn't get exiled and he died as a hero of the Republic. His image isn't going to be sullied. This is important. We played with the idea of maybe kicking him out, doing whatever. But he was a hero. He was there for Italy when we fought the Austrians. But now he's gone. And a new era of the Republic could emerge because the new Republicans are anarchists. They're traitors to the idea of Italy, right? Interesting stuff. Oh, Denmark just backed down. Look at that. Beautiful. We got colonies here. And I think the last thing we want to take over is Ashanti. And then we're down here in West Africa and we're entirely going to look towards the Congo. By the way, there is an uprising here in the Congo. If they succeed in this, I'm not going to get involved in this. No. Unless, wait a minute. Okay, don't want to become my subject, your fault. Listen, here's what we're going to do. If they gain freedom, I will immediately jump in and claim the Congo. That stuff will belong to us. It actually passed. I am so happy. I thought just based on the percentages here that we would be stuck in this for quite some time going forward, but we passed the law. Now, the most important thing, and we can only do this after really surveying this West, the most important thing to steer clear of a revolution if we want to reintroduce theocracy is this right here. We need to up that like crazy, and we are going to up this like crazy. But I think for the time being, I would like to do some more reforms that just hinder people. You know, going away from a very liberal voting franchise would be nice, but I would rather attack people where it hurts. I like this so much. I really like this so much. I would honestly, I think, prefer commercialized agriculture. As I said, the church recognizes that we need to do new things, that we need to go into a new direction. And I'm not sure the civic nobility is really the way to go here. An industrialist wing of theocrats would be amazing. Now, we don't have mutual funds, which is kind of weird because I'm pretty sure that's not that late of a tech. I'm gonna jump ahead here. Can I do that? Can I queue it first? Nope. Okay, well, let's queue that new. We're gonna go with mutual funds, and we're then going to reform that. I think for the time being, let me actually just change that law. I want to go. Then again, it doesn't really help us at all, does it? I would like to go with censorship. I think we will. The church endorses it as well. Yeah, it makes a lot of people angry, but so be it. Censorship is coming back, baby. And oh boy, I talked about Formosa in the last video, and now Formosa is sending us a trade agreement. Well. If you aren't going to be a long-term partner in the region, having a peaceful partner so that I can then take treaty ports right here would be amazing. Oh my god, okay. Russia has just reduced Manchuria to just being a dominion. That is worrying. I think I would like to free Manchuria from Russia. If we ever clash with Russia, and quite frankly, I see this as unacceptable. I can't see Russia as a partner here, nor can I see them as a partner in East Asia. Manchuria needs to be free of the Russians. I think that much now is very clear, and oh my god, Ugo Tola retired. They got another radical. The rural folk stays their course. They remain the enemy of the papacy. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind because it is all so important. We're suppressing them for a very good reason. But let's get back on track when it comes to imperialism. If we ever really want to be active outside of just our Western African colonies, we need to have this under control and we need to be operating the Suez Canal. Our survey of the Suez Isthmus is complete. It would be possible to construct a canal linking the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. Next, we must acquire the land from the Ottoman Empire. I'm not buying that land. I am not buying that land. Let me check this. They got a rivalry with Egypt, and they have trade agreements with France, and I hate this. I hate that they're all so friendly towards them, but I understand it. They don't want the region to be destabilized. I have now, by the way, removed Serbia from the Austrian market, further putting it into our sphere when it comes to the Balkans. I'm going to go ahead and say coercion is the simplest form of persuasion. I have built my army. We have more artillery, we have more skirmish infantry, we have a bigger fleet, we have a better fleet. If the time has ever been here, it is now. I will teach the Ottomans a lesson. Albanian uprising. Folks, it is happening. We have an Albanian uprising, and quite frankly, my dear Albanian friends, I'm going to help you in this. I currently still have a truce with the Ottomans. I will demand that we get the Sinai. We can jump in when it comes to future uprisings as they happen. I don't need to demand that Bulgaria goes free, for example. I will simply defend Albania in the hope of getting the Sinai. And oh my god, the Albanians will immediately agree to become our subjects. Is this better than the Sinai? I think so. I would like a protectorate here in the Balkans. This secures the Adriatic entry for us. Absolutely. Become my protectorate, you will be safe. And oh wow, it seems that we are twisting the arms of this anarchist. Defeat admitted. Enrico Malatesta's arguments have been publicly defeated, forcing him to turn his gaze to more advantageous things. The faction in the intelligentsia have thrown their weight behind the censorship law. Maybe they are seeing the light yet. Celebrations are in order, or run a line to the papers now. Oh, we could make it so that both become the champion of the people. Oh, that is interesting. I'm gonna go with celebrations are in order. I love the idea of him, basically people going, okay, you can see some illiberalism may be required. Sure, you know what? Let it benefit both of us. Ooh, and that is interesting. France offers us a defensive pact. Honestly, I want to stay flexible. I don't really see it right now. And so, my friends, we are back. But this time, we are back with a much better equipped army. And you can see this in the numbers. You can see this in our demeanor because we are going full in on the offensive here. Let me just see whether we can't catch the first battle. There it is. Just look at this. We are going to shred them here because our army finally has been built for purpose. And we're going to get a really good Albanian vassal out of this. The Balkans will be ours. And so it happened. Folks, and so it happened. Let me tell you one thing. Folks, I'm going to be honest with you. We still have time because we need this to go to level 4. We need complete suppression. You can see it. Actually, the movement is now gone, but there was a very well supported movement because there's a lot of very angry people in Italy right now as we remove the rights of the farmers, as we should, of course. But hey, that's neither here nor there. What really matters is the following. We shall go theocracy. We shall do what is required of us, what God wants us to do. I'm a big fan of this. Currently, there is no majority for it, but it doesn't matter if the majority result of the election says that Ludovico Samaruccio can do what he wants because the alternative is indeed an anarchist. God, I love this dynamic. I think we're going to wait for the tech, then we will pass commercialized agriculture and then theocracy. And as you can see, it has been paying off. The presidential system, the electoral system, none of them mean anything if the defenders of the Republic are anarchists and other scum, making it so that we will get a sound majority, a theocratic president, and soon, the Pope. I would even argue, and I know that this isn't really something that is inside of the game right here, but I would argue that the fight against the Ottomans here is basically a crusade. Yes, we are freeing Muslim Albanians, if we take a look at them right there. Their majority is Sunni, but that's okay. We are winning in the name of God, and we are taking control because, well, they are becoming our protectorate. Absolutely gorgeous. Now that is what I call an incredibly fat Albania. I could already reduce their autonomy, and honestly, our troops are right there, we just helped them. Absolutely. Albania will become a satellite of our interests, and quite frankly, while we're at it, Greece? I'm not going to push Greece or Albania further than a Dominion. I think Dominion is the perfect level, but the Balkans are Italian, and don't forget it. And oh my god, it appears that we are not alone in our desire for theocracy. We have a German religious revolt led by intelligentsia. That is so insane. Okay, and we got Kaiser Friedrich von Hohenzollern right here, still living with autocracy. That is probably why they're rebelling. Can we theoretically intervene in this? We can. Now, I gotta tell you, Germany has been a friend, and a Protestant theocracy doesn't sound great to me. But what do we want from them? Could we want... Oh... Can we pit you against the Russians? What I'm thinking is, we free Manchuria, or rather we kind of free it for our own purposes, from Russia, and we invite the Germans to do it. I will send Italian troops here to get a pact from the Germans that we can then utilize against Russia. I think that should be pretty solid. Let's do obligation. I don't want the bankroll. It's fine. Alright, folks. Let's pass this law right here. This will basically make the industrialists fairly happy, which is important because they might be allies there. Listen, republicanism with the industrialists is definitely conditional. So I'm gonna go ahead, do them a little bit of a favor, do the civic nobility a favor, and most importantly, further reduce the rural folk. Look at their strength after they have fallen from grace. Francesco Intonti is no Ugo Tola. Beautiful. And here we can already see it. Look at that. They are trying to rise up for homesteading, but they're not unified behind this, which is why currently we don't really see any risk coming from this. But if we were to pass theocracy without any preparation, like I said, this is exactly what we would have been looked at and probably would have lost to. Okay, wait a minute. What the hell is going on here? Debates between industrialists and the civic nobility have spilled into the news. The focal point, foreign investment in commercialized agriculture. Interesting. With extraterritoriality about, what legal guarantees do we have that Italian laws affect French citizens here? A fairer point would be who works on that land. It's Italian land, it would be worked by Italian hands. But if they bring their own labor and laws, that would be better for the domestic markets. That's an interesting debate. I've never seen these events because I've never actually passed this law, funnily enough. All foreign investors will answer to Italian civil laws. I feel like that sounds pretty accurate here. French laws are what they are familiar with. I don't think so. This overbearing caution serves nobody. Ooh, that is huge. But honestly, I don't... No. We're going to say Italian laws mean everything in Italy. Even if, you know, maybe it makes this less likely. Well, okay. That law actually failed. We were unable to pass that. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see many other opportunities for us to do what we want to do here. I think it's time. It's crazy to say this, okay? But I think it's time. I want to do so much more here, just for the record. We need to free the entire Balkans. We need to take over Egypt. We need to compete with Britain over our islands and over colonies here in Africa, both of which we're currently losing on when it comes to our competition. What I am looking at here is a position where I want to also go towards East Asia and all that, but for the time being, time to enact a theocracy. And how are we doing there in terms of the movement? Is there a revolution brewing anywhere? No revolution at all? Let's see how it goes. And oh boy, they are angry. They are mad as hell. And currently almost all of Italy is actually rebelling. And now that I look at this, I'm pretty sure... Oh no. Okay, so the Germans aren't rebelling. Interesting. The islands and the Germans are staying with us, but the rest currently is completely going against what is good in the world. Maybe leading to a straight-up revolution here. We'll see. We are passing this pretty quickly. This is going pretty slowly. This will be interesting because it is a genuine race against the clock here. Look at that. The law has already passed to study. This might pass before this revolution actually goes towards explosion. And I can tell you now, the race against the clock was lost by the theocrats. We are in the voting stage, the last stage. But the revolution will kick off in what, 3-4 weeks? And then it is all out. And folks, that is exactly what this is. It's 1881, and the Pope has pushed a little too far. Now I ask you, what is the future of Italy? I think I can probably, maybe, hopefully, let's hope we don't get annexed here, win the civil war as either side. The big question from me to you is, who do we commit to? The Republic has been eroded over the last few years. We have been looking at a decade where the old heroes, Garibaldi and so on, Ugo Tola, they all died. And were replaced by anarchists, were replaced by industrialists that want a republic but not for the reasons that you might want it. And now we're looking at a civil war that is unrivaled, except maybe for the Germans, in the history of our country. We're looking at a civil war where we could invite some friends, but I again think we can probably win this as either side. It doesn't really matter. The question goes to you. What do you want me to do? Are we going to go back to the Pope? Are we going to become restrictive and a theocracy as we have done it the entire episode? Or are we going to reinstitute freedom and break everything that the Catholic Church stands for? One way could lead towards anarchy, towards communism, towards potentially atheism. The other way could lead to a very reactionary, to a theocratic state of affairs that may even lead towards fascism. Whether it will or not, obviously I'm not I have no idea whether that is happening, but I am excited by the premise of all of this, and I hope so are you. I will leave it right here, and again, I really need your input. Obviously, we got plenty of aspirations still. This playthrough is not through yet. We're looking at Manchuria, we're looking at everything in the world. And right now, we are looking at our own country in flames. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you later, alligator.